Today we are going to continue our existing AWS series. We are into day number 10 of this fantastic series. And today we are going to see one interesting and new topic. So far we have covered like a couple of topics: AWS S3, EC2, EMR, step functions, Lambda, etc. Today there is one interesting topic which is very much predominantly used in the IT industry. Whenever there is a data is going to migrate to cloud, we often use this service very regularly. Yes, here it is Amazon Redshift. So we are going to cover today what is Amazon Redshift, how to create Redshift serverless cluster in AWS Management Console, how to load S3 data into Redshift table, and how to query back the results, and finally, last but not least, some of the features of Amazon Redshift. So first of all, so what is basically Redshift is? So Redshift is basically one of the AWS service which is a kind of we call them as cloud data warehouse to say correctly, or to analyze any kind of structured or unstructured or maybe even semi-structured data across couple of data warehouse concepts, right? So we may have some data in any of the data lake format or in any format. We always used to do just keep all the data into one single unified format in a data warehousing tool called Amazon Redshift. So simple things is in terms of better performance and cost effective, and you will be achieved using Amazon Redshift. Many people will think about like what is the difference between Athena and Redshift. Athena is nothing but it is a serverless, guys. So serverless, when I talk about, it doesn't have any cluster to create, whereas it's just like used for the purpose of doing some ad hoc querying based on the data which is present in S3. Whereas Redshift, you want to create a cluster, and based on the cluster, the Redshift queries will perform as like when the cluster gets increased, you may need to you will be seeing some good performance based on that. So right here go. So we are going to see like a practical demo, like we have some data in S3 and how are we going to load the data into Redshift by creating some predefined tables. Here we go, guys. So here comes the management console. Let me go here. Alright, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to create one new bucket. Okay, so there is already one more bucket, so where like okay, I will try to create one bucket for here. Okay, test Redshift bucket. Let's keep this name for now, and then now what I'm trying to do, I'm just going to simply create a bucket already. Okay, so I'm just going to create test Redshift demo bucket. So now, so the first thing is we have created the bucket test Redshift bucket demo. I'm just going to simply upload one simple sample CSV file. So that is used to load the table. Alright guys, so now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to upload the CSV file. Basically this CSV file has a kind of Bitcoin related pricing low and highs details. So we are going to load this data into S3, and then we are going to load the same similar data into Redshift table. So now here we go. There is something called, okay, let me go here. So here you want to go here Redshift. There are like a couple of things will be here. So this is basically you have like a dashboard kind of thing where you can view what is the previous workspaces and like namespaces whichever we have created here. So these are some of the namespace which I have created already. Before creating a namespace, you want to create a work group. So how do you create a work group first of all? So what is basically a work group, right? Work group is nothing but it consists of a namespace. So in a database kind of algorithm, we call them namespace as a database related schema. Okay, so we want to create a schema first, and then the relationship goes as like creating a table, loading the table, and with respect to all entities. Right, now what we are going to do, we are going to create one sample work group here. Okay, test demo work group. So here we go. We can keep all these things by default, security groups, networks, and everything. I'm just going to go next. I'm just going to create a new namespace here. So there are two options, while you can add to an existing namespace, or you can still go and create a new namespace. What I'm going to do, I'm going to create a new namespace here. Okay, test namespace Redshift for the purpose. Now if you want to create a database name and password, it will give you by default dev as a database name. Alright, so if you want to create some kind of user defined credentials, like say like what is a customized username or customized password, you can still go ahead and do it. So if you just click here, you can still modify the username which already they have given, right? By default it's admin. If you want to change it to root or something else like name or whatever you want to keep, you can still go ahead and keep it. I'm not going to do that. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to simply by default use those options. If you want to do, you can still go ahead and do it. Now, very important thing, you want to manage sort of IAM roles here. So for this, basically there is one already IAM role is present. You want to create one IAM role here. So what you need to do, you want to select, there are three options. So you can either use second or third. So if you use second option, it's very easy. Whenever you create any bucket after creating this work group, right? So it's very easy that you can easily access the S3 data without setting up one more IAM role again. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to click it, and then now it is going to create it, right? So now all these kind of logs are which is not necessary as of now to create basic things. I'm just going to simply create next and then review all my details, and then I'm going to create it. Alright, so now what I'm going to do, it is going to create a work group called test demo work group. Alright, so inside this there is one name called namespace called, it's a kind of database name guys, right? Test namespace Redshift, and the associated work group called test demo work group. So it is able to create it now. Let's wait for 2 or maybe less than 10 seconds, it's able to create. So by the way, if you go and scroll down, you can still able to see like what is a free trial which is actually given to you in free tier option. So I can able to use $262 as a free credit. And if you want to see some kind of queries, let's say I want to explore through for this work group, so for the last 1 week, what is the queries that I have triggered, even I can just go ahead and get the details from the dashboard. That's very simple guys. So this dashboard, right, so this will give you a good picture of how good that you use your Redshift very regularly. Alright, so now here we go, we have created successfully the work group and the associated namespace. So now, by the way, how are we going to create a table in Redshift? That's the interesting part. So I'm just going to click the query data console here. So basically now I'm going to simply create a connection over here guys. So now once you create a connection successfully, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to simply get all the necessary data loading here. So once you create this connection successfully, once you go into this Redshift query editor, simple thing is you want to go to this load data option. You can have two different options guys. One is you can either load the data from S3 or from file. I'm going to choose this from S3 bucket. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to simply browse it. So we're here, so I'm just going to simply use this option, and then here we go, choose this, and then you will able to see like what is the file format. Obviously it is CSV, delimited character is comma, and obviously you will ignore the first row as a field name. So fine guys, so let's move on to the next page. Yes, it will show you like two different options, one to either create a new table or to the existing table. So for the time being, let's do like creating a new table here, and the moment you come out here, you can able to successfully able to see the work group whichever we have created recently, right? This is the test demo work group, and then from the database dev and schema is going to be obviously public. I'm going to create one new table, test demo rs, okay, Redshift. So now the IAM role which I have recently created, right, the second one, not the first one. First one is a default. Second one I'm going to choose it. Simple, this is my table name guys. Remember that this file is being used here to load the data, and these are some of the columns which is present in the CSV file. If you want to still add new column, you can just simply click it and you can just drop it, okay? So if you don't want it, you can still restore to defaults. So what I'm going to do, if you want to even customize accordingly, you can just go ahead and simply do whatever thing. So I'm just delete it. I'm just going to create a table simply now, and then once it's done, it's going to load the data successfully. Alright, so now it's time. Yes, now you can able to see 3467 records have been loaded successfully. It's time for us to query the data, right? So obviously in the table, so what I'm going to do, I am just going to simply copy this, okay? I'm just going to simply trigger the query. It's basically a SQL query guys, so let's not worry about anything. So copy the data and just simply you can able to run the queries. So now you can able to see all the data which is populated in Redshift query editor. That's so simple as this, guys. So you can have any kind of file formats, right, guys? CSV, text file, paraquet, ORC, RC, anything you can still go ahead. Simple thing is, as like whatever we have shown right from the beginning, you want to do successfully, right? So still you can do some more additional things. If you want to export it, right, you can even do an export. Let's say, okay, so this showing an error. So what you need to do, so there is some settings where you have like account settings, where like export settings, under this there is something called checkbox needs to get enabled, right? So unless or otherwise this checkbox is not enabled, you cannot able to export the results back. So what I'm now going to do, I can still go ahead and just simply download my data here. All right, so the JSON data has been completely exported. If you want to show this data in chart format, you can still go ahead and see it. If you want to maximize it, you can still go ahead and see it. So if you want to choose this high, you can even choose, like for example, low. Let's say you can still go ahead and do this, right? So you can even choose this like funnels or whatever you can do. Let's say like histogram, you can still go ahead and see it. Fantastic, right? So these kind of options are very, very useful for whenever people started using Redshift for their day-to-day analytic or data warehousing purpose. Fantastic, guys. So with this we have come to end of this beautiful video explaining all about Redshift. So see you guys in my next video with one more AWS service which will be really useful in our day-to-day practical activities. So I wish you could also do this practice in your local machine, guys. Thank you guys for watching this video. Stay tuned.